everybody, we're getting ready to go check out my dad's farm. He has a new baby chick and show you a little bit more of my dad's farming.
Welcome to my house. In the past years I've been able to turn my house into an urban farm. I'm a little bit behind, so pardon the mess. But down here is a strawberry patch. So you can see I've got some strawberries. They're turning. This one's turned right here. I got some larger ones here, but just in this area. Then I also have a lot of radishes. I decided I'd go ahead and get radishes since they grow in the early winter, and I knew I'd be pulling them when the strawberries started turning. And so these are radishes that I've got, and I feed the tops and the bottoms to the chickens. So I always think about what I can give to the chickens.
And going from that actually makes me think about your composting. Can you share a little bit about that with us as well, or take us back there and see what you're doing?
Yeah, we can go look at it. Back here in the little compost area, I put my leaves. I go around when people put leaves on the road and they've got these bags, I just load them up in the car and I bring them because I don't have that many leaves at my house. So all these leaves will last me a year with my bedding for my chickens, so it doesn't cost anything. Now I made these big boxes here, and I've got here loaded with leaves too. So I've got this loaded. So got leaves in this one, leaves in this one, leaves in another one. This is where I put my compost right here on this. And so by the time it gets here, this is what it looks like. It looks like dirt. But you can see it's beautiful. And so I will keep filling this box up all summer long until winter time, and I'll fill it to the top, and then it will sit like it is here until the springtime, and then I'll take it out and put it in the gardens. Okay, so we're at the another raised bed. This is one that I put together a few years back, and it's made of cinder block, and the cinder block each cinder block has an onion. So I've got onions, and then I've got some let me tell you about onions. Onions you've got to keep watered, because if you don't water them, they start shooting these spikes up and they start flowering and you lose the onion. But if you keep them watered, they won't do that. Also, as you go through and you're watering, and this is still early, the bulb should be coming on top of the ground. As the compost decomposes, then the dirt goes down and it exposes the bulb for the onion. And later on, maybe I can show that to you. That's in a couple months. Then I've got this red wave lettuce, and this is my favorite lettuce to have. You can see these huge leaves. Just look at that. Look how gigantic that is. And I put my hand on here, so it's about that size. And so this is is my favorite lettuce, because it's so big, it tastes so good, and it's pretty. It's got the green and it's got the red. Now in between the lettuces, I've got my tomatoes, and the tomatoes are going to be coming up, and then when the lettuce putters out in about a month or so, then the only thing here will be the tomatoes. And tomatoes, I always sucker the tomatoes. You can see that you've got a leaf coming out, and you've got this little piece coming out. If you don't sucker it, it grows this way, that goes that way. So I just go through and sucker each one of these. I tear these off. I'll go ahead and sucker this one. And so all these pieces I'm cutting off. Even down at the bottom, I'm taking these off. So I've got all these pieces that would have grown out, and it would have suckered or would have taken some nutrients, and so the tomatoes will be bigger now. If I wanted to, I could actually put this in water, and then it would spring roots, and then I can plant it, and it would become another tomato plant, the same kind. So I'll go back and do the rest of these later this afternoon. So now we're on another raised bed. And this is one that will have tomatoes in it, but I decided I wanted to have kale and cabbage and cilantro, and again, since I've got cinder blocks, in every cinder block I've got an onion. So I love the onions, and I don't eat them as spring onions. I let them get the full bulbs so that I have some big ones. You can see this is at the end of the season because everything's going to flower. And so this is a kale plant right here. You can see the leaves. I pick them off each time, all the time, and I really pull a full one up or break a big piece off here. There we go. I just pulled off a little bit of the kale. At this time of year, it's time to get rid of the kale. So I just pull it up, pull the pieces up. I pull the kale off. I just go with my hand and rip this off so I don't have any of the ribbon in here. And then I take this and cut it up for the chickens. And so they eat what I don't eat. But I love to heat this up in the microwave and put some butter on it and just eat it, or get some soup, and I always add it to my soup. And at the Olive Garden, you've got the sausage soup, and it's got kale in it too, if you've ever had that. It's wonderful soup. It's a milk-based soup, and so I eat this all the time. There's so much of it. You can see it's. I like to share it with people too if they'll take it. I've got cabbages in here too, and the cabbages have kind of gone to head. And the way I know this is cabbage, it's got the smooth leaf on it. It doesn't have the little crinkles around the edge. So again, I take this up and I saute it, and the cabbage is at the bottom, so I do that. This is one of our family favorites. This is cilantro, and so it did pretty well over the winter, even though we had a rough winter. And it's gone to head. Look at the flowers here, and when it has the seeds, they're called coriander seeds, which is another herb. So again, we got the cilantro, then we'll have the coriander seeds that we can use. So this is one of my 2 apple trees, and so I've got it here. It has some blooms. The blooms are already gone, so you really can't see anything till the apples come. But this is a heirloom apple tree, so we'll see what happens in the fall when the apples come better and get bigger. It looks like onions, but this is garlic. This is a whole group of garlics. I just took the garlic that I bought at the store and I broke it apart and put all the garlic pieces in here. So I've been growing that for a couple years. I've got some scallions here, and I do weed my garden a little bit better. It's been raining, but I will weed my garden, and I'll give all the pieces to the scraps to the chickens. They love every bit of it. But that's what I like about raised beds. You take one bed, you weed it, then you can do something else, and then the next day you can weed another bed. This is another pallet here, and it's got some Brussels sprouts on it. They're doing very well. Each one of these raised beds, I fill it with compost. I just bought the 6 plants, or these plants at a garden store, and I put them out, and they're going to be great when they get larger. I love Brussels sprouts, so they do very well. We had this tree cut down, and they were supposed to cut it all the way down to the root to dig the stump out, and they didn't do it. Sometimes you have people that don't do what they're supposed to do, but it turned out good. Last year, I decided I would get some pallet pieces. I have some boards, lots of them about this high, probably 18 inches high, and my grandson and I just went through and we nailed it all the way around, and I'll show you a picture of it from last year. And we put some cucumbers. In fact, we did it for 2 years, put cucumbers in here, and we took it down because I said enough's enough. And then I decided I was going to go ahead and put dirt in the holes, and I put some compost, and I decided to go ahead and put some more cucumbers in. So I'm going to see how that works. It worked great when I had the boards and all the soil in here. So this is another kind of raised bed that I'm using, a natural. This is another raised bed. I keep adding to it. Right here we've got a mesclun mix, but it's got mainly arugula in it. I planted it a little bit close, and so they've all gone to head, but whenever I'm ready to eat some arugula, I just pull up the whole stem and I break it off. If I didn't have that many, I would just break each leaf off like I do with the leaf lettuce. So I love spicy greens to go with my salad. And again, since this has concrete around it, you've got some onions in each concrete slab. Over here, I've got another raised bed, and this one's dedicated to some sugar snap peas. And the ones I had last year had white flowers, so I was delighted to see that these have purple flowers. I think they're really pretty. So I should be getting some pea pods probably the next week or two, and it will go for the next while But when it gets too hot, then these will not, this is a winter crop, so once it gets too hot, it produces, then I'll take this up and I'll put some peppers or something in here. Over here, I had another area, a little tiny raised bed here. I separated it out, and I found out that you don't put too much in a raised bed. So I just have some romaine, and I also have some Swiss chard. This is yellow. I think it's really a pretty green, and I've got red on the other side, and I've got a tomato in the center. And this tomato is not doing as well as my other tomatoes because we had a frost. The tomato is going to be delayed a little bit in the production, but notice I don't have too many plants here. It would be tempted to put lots of plants. I just have the tomato, and the greens they'll leave probably in July. Still, we have another raised bed here. This is my collards bed for the winter time, and you can see I've got some nice collards. I like them. I've had them. Oh, this was packed full of collards, and I've got another raised bed that was packed full of collards too. This is the last bed I'm going to be cooking probably next week, so I decided to do that. I also have a plant here that comes up. This is normally a flower plant. Zinnias are in here in the summertime. This is a plant, and they've got looks like little lightning bugs or something in here. They just little bugs in. But this will be huge. It'll come up, and it will be beautiful, large red flowers. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And just as something different, I had these lucky bamboo, and I said I'm gonna let the lucky bamboo see what happens when I put lucky bamboo out, and then maybe I can dig it up for the fall. I just see it. This is an experiment. These are my herb boxes. I like to have them because they're right outside the door, and I can come pick the herbs when I want them to go. Herbs, if you don't watch out, they kind of overrun. This is so much right here, and so you have to be brutal many times. Otherwise, it just takes over everything. So I've got some different herbs here. This is rosemary, and I've got sage, and I've got thyme, and I've got a lot of chives here, and the chive flowers are coming up, and that's good in soups that I have. So I've got lots of herbs here, and I like to eat them with the food. I also have some citrus plants that I've got in containers, and right now this is a lime. I've got some Meyer lemons too, and I got a little tiny orange tree, and so I decided I wanted some color, and so I put some pansies in here in the plants, and you can see the one over there. It's getting ready to bloom, and I got some pansies in there that will brighten it up in the wintertime. But when summer comes and these putter out, I'll pull them out, and then I've got just an herb in here. I've had this for years and years and years, and I brought it outside. It normally stays inside the house, but I brought it out. It's starting to have some little blooms on it. You can see the little red flower, the little white flower on here, and then it will have all kinds of little miniature oranges on it in the fall. Notice I've got a pot over here with just one plant in it. It's got a few weeds, but it's got one plant, and if you smell it, yeah, it's mint. Mint is something you don't want in your raised bed. You don't want it anywhere. You don't want it in your herb box. You want it all by itself because it's got roots and it will take over everything. Down here I've got raised beds. I've got 3 of them. And since I have to carry water down here and water and tend the plants, I bring stuff that comes up every single year that have good root systems. And right now I've got some thornless blackberries. And so I've had these for years. So they're huge blackberries, and so they're blooming now, so I'll have a number of those around Independence Day, July 4th. I should have some. Okay, this is my blueberry area. This is one thing a plant that I brought from the other house. Now, we've been living in this house for 20 years, and these are 2 blueberry bushes. And so I pick blueberries and have quite a few every single year. I have to fight the birds for them, but I've got so many of them that there's enough for me, and there's also enough for the birds. I've got lots of blueberry bushes. I've got one up here. I've got a row of them right here. You can see they've got the white stakes to kind of help them stay up, and so we won't mow over them. And I've got about the same number at the top of the hill too. And when you pick them, you take it and you roll it off. You don't pick it like that. You just roll it between your fingers, and it comes right off. So that's how I pick them. Okay, this is my chicken coop. This is something my dad and I, probably the last big project my dad and I did together. We were determined to make it not cost anything. So we used pallets, and we just put them together for the base. And the first one that we had just had the bottom part here. Just the bottom part, and the width is about like this. So if you can imagine, it's just that all the way around. Later on, I decided I couldn't get into it. I'm getting old, I couldn't get into it, and so we put a second level on it. So this is another pallet, so it's enough for me to walk in and not bump my head. So I like it. Just pallets, and I use the chicken wire to put around it, and so I don't have any varmints come in, and I had some of this roofing here that I put on top. So again, didn't cost anything. I put the dark paper here to keep the sun glare goes in there, so that kind of keeps the sun off. Then later on, I decided I wanted to have more space for the chickens, because chickens need enough space to be able to run so they don't pick on each other, they have enough space for themselves. So I just continued this and doubled the size of the bottom part. And the chickens, what the chickens are doing is they want me to feed them. They're used to me. They probably run since they see you, but they want to see what I'm doing. So when I'm in the yard, all they do is come around, look, and watch me. And they go crazy when I put some green stuff in. They love it. So they'll start eating that, and they'll come in because they love to eat. So I got 10 chickens, and I decided to get 10 different breeds, so I know each one of their names. So I can call each name for you. For example, the white one's Snowy. The one that's kind of muted black and gray and white is Cuckoo. Barbie is the one that's black and white. I've got Rhodey, a Rhode Island Red. I call her Rhodey. I got Midnight, the black one. I've got Speckles right there below me, and then I've got Lacey, the one that looks like golden lace on it. So each one of those part of the name of the actual chicken, but I gave them names. I got Jenny inside. She's my only Easter egger, and it's because she's got a gene for laying colored eggs, so I call her Jeannie. So I've got a purpose for each name. This is the box, my storage box, and so it gives some protection here on this side in case it's raining or something. It can get underneath it, and this is what I put all my supplies in. If you look over there, you can see bottles of seeds. I give the chickens unlimited amount of feed, but also twice a day I give them a bottle of the seeds there. If I've got my neighbors or somebody watching my chickens for me, they just have to grab one and they just have to get it. For me, I just take a can like this, put it in my hand, and I just throw it in 2 or 3 times a day, just so that they have something to peck at. They really enjoy all that, so they'll go and they'll peck on them. So they love me because I feed them. So you can see how they're doing that. Jenny is still inside. Jenny is the lowest on the pecking order, even though they don't abuse her. You can tell that because the chicken that doesn't come out with all the other chickens, or kind of comes out a little bit later, that's probably the lowest one on the pecking order. We are going inside the chicken coop. So this is the inside, and notice I've got Katie, you can probably vouch for me. There's no smell at all. There's never a smell in here. You think about chickens smelling. I found the secret is you put leaves on the bottom. And so I just fill this up with leaves, and they crunch them up. And you see how they're kind of crunched up now? And I move them around. But then after probably a month, I take them all up and take them to the outside. The ones that are outside, I take and put the compost. I've got leaves, that's all I've got in here. And so you got leaves, you got poop, and just a great combination for fertilizer. If you look up here, you can see I've got the roost up here. So part of the chickens get here at nighttime. I don't have to put them up here. They get up by themselves, and they get up here by themselves. So they stand up here every night, or sit up here and roost. Right here, I've got some containers. This one holds oyster shells. I need to get some more oyster shells. They've scattered them, but they've got to have oyster shells. And then I've got 2 containers that have the feed in it, and so they constantly can have feed if they want it. The waterer, this is my favorite waterer. costs about $25. It holds 2 gallons, and that's what they drink their water out. I've got some jugs I used to use, but they love this so much I don't use the jugs too much anymore. Okay, this is the nesting box, and I found out that the chickens all want to lay eggs at the same place. So those are today's eggs. There's 2, 4, 6, 7 eggs. I get between 7 and 10 eggs a day. I've got 10 chickens, so they all lay. I made this board here so they can walk up, and this kind of helps support their feet when they climb up to go up here and lay the eggs. In the daytime, in the morning, they fight because they want to lay there, and so they're ready for one to finish so the another one can come up and they can do it. Now the other one right here, we're going to look a little bit later, is my first broody hen, the hen that I decided I would see if she could have some eggs. I went to my daughter's house that has a rooster, so some are fertilized eggs, and she sat on 12 eggs. So we're going to look and see. It's been 21 days, so we'll see what happens. Also, most everything I said was free, but I wanted a lightweight door here, and then also the feeders are PVC pipe, and so I've got a door that's PVC pipe. It works out well. And to lock it, I just have a piece of wood that's in here, and I'll just pull it here again, and that holds the door together. So I don't have any problems with varmints or anything. Underneath the nesting box, underneath here, I've got, you can't see it, but it's a sandbox. They've got some leaves in it, but if chickens have to have little pieces of sand or grit so that it can help with their digestion. And so that's what I've got underneath there. So when they need some, they go and dig it in. Now this is Buffy. Buffy is a broody hen. Look at her. Most of them let me hold them, but look how her feathers have fluffed out. And she is just don't want to move at all. But let's just see if there's any. Look at her. She's pecking at me. Look at her. She's pecking at me, even though she loves me. I mean, she's one of my most. Oh, look what we've got there. One of my most precious chickens. Look at that. This is a little baby. You hear it peeping? Look at that. Isn't that the cutest thing ever? Now Buffy's not happy with that. Here's the little. That's the first little one we've got. She seems to be in good shape. Look at that. I've not ever held her. Look at that. She's just sitting on my hand. Now, Buffy's not too happy. I'm gonna put this back. I'm gonna put her back in here. You doing okay? Put you right here. The chickens like me to hold them sometimes. The ulterior motive is for me to come down here and get some chickweed most of the time. I don't know if she'll eat any of it or not. You gonna eat some of it? You're kind of nervous with the people visiting with us. Yeah, you're kind of nervous, aren't you? So this is a golden comet, and so I try to name them according to their name. We didn't see comet earlier, but I know who she is because she's got the white around the neck. She looks like a Rhode Island red right here, but then she's a comet here. So there you are. You ready to go back in? You want to go back in? Okay. Let's go back in. Okay. Let's go in this way so you don't bother the chickie. And then there's your eggs. I have been doing raised beds since probably 1980, years and years ago. I decided to do that rather than having a big traditional garden that we've had. But the secret is, or the thing is, you don't need to get 11 to 13 beds like I've got. Start with one. And I really like concrete. I like to put concrete as the outline. It's good. But you've got all these holes in the concrete that you can put in the onions or lettuce or whatever you want to put into those. But I would start small and then put a crop in there, put something in there, and then add another one later. It doesn't take a lot of space. You want to find a place that's very, very sunny. You don't want to have too much shade or you won't be successful. I enjoy doing all of it, all the years, but I will caution you that you need to make it so that you just have a few vegetables in there. Otherwise, it's just going to be crazy. You'll have too many and you won't have a good crop and it'll look ugly. So less is more. Just remember that. If you have any questions about raising chickens, raised beds, you need to visit my blog. It's glengurley.blogspot.com. I've got 8 8 different entries for how to raise chickens. I've got an entry or 2 on raised beds. And so if you're interested, look it up. Again, glengurley.blogspot.com.